Good afternoon. I'm Matthew Reed, Chief of Police for the South Windsor Police Department. Today is Friday, the 4th of November, 2011. For the past several days, we've all been challenged by the debris and by the destruction and by the power outages brought upon us by this early winter storm. During these past several days, I've been working closely with the town manager, our elected officials, and other department heads that make up our emergency operations team here in South Windsor. Today I want to talk specifically about debris management. While we continue to operate our emergency shelter at the South Windsor High School, we are looking in the long term and trying to figure out how we're going to handle all of the debris, all of the trees, all of the sticks, all of the branches that have come down as a result of this strange early winter storm. To give you an idea of how large this task is, after Storm Irene, the town of South Windsor removed 5,500 cubic yards of debris from the entire town. 5,500. The early estimates after this most recent storm is that South Windsor will have to remove over 100,000 cubic yards of debris. That's exponentially larger than the amount of debris we had from Storm Irene. The town of South Windsor intends to have this debris removed. In fact, this afternoon, on Friday the 4th, there's an emergency town council meeting to discuss how we're going to take care of our debris removal and enter into a contract with a state-provided vendor that will assist with this debris removal. There are a few things that we want you as residents to know as we prepare to remove this debris. First of all, you should know that it will probably be several weeks, if not a few months, that this debris will remain in front of your home before it's actually picked up. It's going to be a long, time-consuming process. During that period of time, there will be snowstorms. We will have to engage ourselves in snow removal operations, and most importantly, we want our children to return to the normalcy of a school day. So what we're asking you as members of the public to do, if you're a property owner in South Windsor and you have debris that you've cleared from your yard, there are some few simple tips in order to keep the debris in an area where it's manageable and to keep the area safe for children and other motorists on our roadways. First, please do not stack debris on any downed cables or wires. Do not stack debris across sidewalks. As the superintendent makes her decisions as to when school will resume, we have to take into consideration how children are going to get to bus stops, how they are going to move safely from their home to the school. We expect buses to be running on schedule as soon as all of our streets are cleared and made safe, but the children still need to get from their homes to the bus stops. And in order to do that, the sidewalks have to be clear. So please do not stack your debris on the sidewalk. We also ask that you don't stack your debris right next to the curb at this point in time. If you do that, you're going to interfere with our snow removal operations. You need to understand that it will be several weeks before this debris can be cleared. And in that period of time, we will move through the month of November and into the month and maybe even through the month of December. And we certainly anticipate some snowstorms during that period of time. If your debris is left on the curb or protruding into the roadway, you're going to interfere with the ability of cars to park. You're going to interfere with the ability of our plows to effectively remove the snow from the traveled portion of the roadway. And you may hamper the debris removal process altogether. You remember last winter we had a tremendous amount of snow. And if you piled that amount of snow on top of debris that's stacked like this, you're going to add to our sightline difficulties. In other words, folks won't be able to pull out of their driveways and see what kind of traffic is around them. You're going to make it very difficult for school children to get from their homes to the bus stops. You could hamper the sight lines as cars turn from one street to another. So we're asking you to keep your debris off of the curb. Ideally, you would place the debris on your property, away from the sidewalk, between the sidewalk and your home. We expect that the equipment that will be used to remove this debris will have a long enough reach that it will reach from the roadway into the portion of your yard closest to the sidewalk. But again, the ideal location for the debris is not right here on top of the curb where it may interfere with future snow removal operations, but over on the other side of the sidewalk, if you have a sidewalk in front of your home. That can act as a guide as to how far away from the roadway you could put your debris. If you don't have a sidewalk, and your home is not a home that children frequently walk in front of as they move towards the bus stops, then just place your debris far enough off the curb so there is a reasonable snow shelf. That is, an area where the snow can be stacked when we get into snow removal operations. I know nobody wants to think that winter is upon us or that we're going to have the type of winter that we had last year. But again, we are interested in preparedness. We have to be ready, because if a big snowstorm comes, there may not be time for people to move their debris. And nobody wants to move their debris twice. So we're asking you to stack it far enough away from the roadway so as to allow for proper sight lines, to allow children to move along the sidewalks safely, and so that it is not interfering with future snow removal operations. I'm here on Laurel Street in South Windsor. This is one of the harder hit areas of town. Not only do they have power out, we have many trees down. Right next to me there's a tree down on a house, and you can see we have limbs and assorted debris stacked all around the road. Some of this debris is where it landed the day of the storm. Some of this debris has been placed here by homeowners as they've worked to clear their yards. As the school superintendent evaluates the decision as to what schools to open and when schools should be opened, she'll drive through areas like this to survey the bus stops, to survey the walking paths that our children take to get to school. And as you can see here, these areas have been very hard hit. And you can imagine trying to get a child from their home to the school and having to have them walk through this type of debris. It is not a safe situation. The trees above us, some of them have limbs that are hanging. Today, which is Friday, the 4th of November, we have some high winds predicted, so we could have more limbs come down. Sadly, we could have more power lines taken down by those limbs that fall. For us to think that this debris is going to be clear and these trees are going to be clear and safe within the next few days is just not reality. It's going to take much longer than a few days to clean up this mess, to make these trees and this whole area safe for students to walk through and get back to the classroom. Now, I have no idea at what point we'll resume classes here in South Windsor. Hopefully it will be soon. But I want people to understand, and I think the school department wants people to understand, that we're very concerned about the safety of our children as they move from their homes to the bus stop or from their homes to school. You can see a wire hanging very low behind me. A school bus cannot get through this area. In fact, a fire truck couldn't even get through this area. We're now into day 7 of this emergency, and we've waited for CLMP crews to come and help us make safe and clear lines like this so we can open up these pathways for emergency vehicles and eventually for school buses. Unfortunately, we have about 39 of these locations that are in just this situation. The road is only partially passable, and we can't get emergency vehicles through, and we certainly can't get school buses through, and we would not want any children walking around this area. As CLMP continues with their restoration efforts, wires like these will suddenly become live. In fact, the wire may be live now. But we don't want to make any assumptions as to whether a wire is inactivated or not. We have to assume that all of these wires are live. So when you stack your debris, we don't want to interfere with sidewalks. We don't want to interfere with the ability of children to move from their houses to the bus stops. We don't want to interfere with people's sight lines. And we don't want to interfere with future snow removal operations. So please, remember, these areas are not yet safe, and it'll be some time before these areas are safe. But we're working hand in hand with our political leaders, the town manager, with the school superintendent, to make sure that our children have safe pathways so they can return to the classroom, and so that our emergency vehicles have safe pathways so they can get to your home in the event of an emergency. I'm Matthew Reed from the South Windsor Police Department. I hope you all are able to stay safe as we work together to recover from this early winter storm.